The Vegeta archetype is a very interesting archetype. While not an official archetype, I am sure to those familiar with Vegeta, probably watched other shows, mainly anime, and played some video games, and be like, wait, that's basically this form media's Vegeta. Well, that said, Vegeta archetype is basically like, I'll go into characters that aren't Vegeta's first, but anyways, this archetype is like a fun rival archetype, which makes good parallel to the protagonist. With that said, let's go into this. Also, by the way, I know we're all past most of these series, but spoilers these franchises and their respective entries. Also, some characters, as I mentioned, are not this archetype. So those expecting me to discuss Killua from Hunter x Hunter, well, that won't happen. I'm sorry, he's just a loyal best friend, and I love him, but he's never at really odds with Gon. And the same applies to Zoro from One Piece, like, loyal ride or die. And speaking of One Piece, no one in One Piece honestly qualifies. I know Blackbeard, but he is a counterpart, but he's a straight up villain. And some people try to say Trafalgar Law, but I love Law, and he does have a breakout effect that a lot of people I'm going to discuss today are. But, like, he doesn't really have much of a rival. He does his own goals. He doesn't really conflict with Luffy. In fact, Law is literally waiting for Luffy to team up. Like, they're not really rivals at all. And, yeah, and Bleach is another situation. Some say Grimmjow, which I almost considered. And some said Ryu or Renji. I don't know. They feel more like the Piccolo, if anything. It doesn't feel quite right. But anyways, let's get started. Not every Vegeta has the same social personality, but for the most part, they're either more loud and prideful, like Vegeta himself or Bakugo, or they're more antisocial, like, you know, Sasuke or Shadow. Two ends, but damn is it interesting. A lot of these guys start out as straight up villains, like, well, Vegeta himself, but gradually become more good. Sasuke is an interesting case where he goes good to baddish to bad to somewhat good to final boss to good. More on this later. A lot of them also get full-on arcs devoted to them, like Sasuke and Bakugo both get retrieval arcs. Shadow is the main focus of Sonic Adventure 2. Some arcs, they feel more involved in the actual protagonist, like Vegeta early Namek, fated battle between brothers and 5 Kage Summit. Heck, Shadow the Hedgehog gets 2 games. I personally love both of them. Yeah, even the 2005 one. Also, even throughout the multiple arcs or entire series, they have their own personal stories, motives, and goals. They don't regard the main character that much, to be honest. Like Sasuke's revenge on Itachi to all the stuff that follows after, to Zuko restoring his honor, just not the way he expected at the start. It's a pretty interesting thing about. One thing I love about these guys is that dynamic with the protagonist. What's interesting is a lot of these, the rival is way more obsessed with the main character. Like, think about it. Early Zuko's, I need to capture the Avatar. Paul in the Diamond Pearl Pokemon anime, literally stalking Ash. Bakugo with Deku, and of course, Vegeta's, I must surpass Kakarot. To the point where it literally gets petty enough to, well, more on that later. Sometimes that isn't always the case. Like in Naruto's case, for the most part, Naruto was way more obsessed with Sasuke, to the point where he thinks about him at night, and wonders if he thinks about him in the same way. Where, in certain points, that was his main goal to get Sasuke back. Honestly, out of context, some of these scenes are extremely, especially, you know, Naruto and Sasuke. Also, Sonic and Shadow don't feel too much of one to the other at all, really. In fact, most the time I can think about is one of those, like, some of those non-canon paths in the Shadow the Hedgehog game, where one is slightly more obsessed with the other, but those are not canon, obviously. I also really like some of their dynamics outside the main protagonist. Like a Vegeta, I love how Tien vocally hates him. That Dragon Ball Z Bridge only capitalized on. Piccolo is whatever. Does tell him straight up that, oh yeah, you're going to hell. Gohan and Krillin due to Namek are more fair. Bulma, a little questionable how she hit on him right away after Namek. Then in terms of Sasuke, I love how Shikamaru vocally doesn't like him. Sakura loves him no matter what, even if you try to kill her. Kakashi sees himself in him. Itachi, that's a whole rabbit hole, tough to explain. With Bakugo, I love how Kirishima's the one guy to be able to properly communicate with him no matter what. It's deadass wholesome low-key. And I love the Todoroki banter, basically Bakugo's second rival. Finally, Zuko is really something to note. Especially how Team Avatar accepted him. Toph, not experiencing anywhere near as much, was more easygoing. Sokka was go with the flow. Aang was more of a, I do need a firebending teacher. But Katara, due to personally getting betrayed by Zuko, was understandably, you better not do anything funny. And oh my god, his dynamic with Uncle Iroh is just so wholesome. And in terms of the bad guys these guys interact with, well, Vegeta definitely hates Frieza, we know that. And I love how personal it was how he went on a killing spree on Namek. Sasuke, Sasuke against Danzo. Danzo had it coming. And Sasuke would willing to go to Orochimaru for power. And Sasuke definitely doesn't like the guy, but he felt that was the only means at the time. And like Shadow, like ever since Sonic Adventure 2, you can really tell that Shadow and Eggman do not get along. In fact, Shadow actually used Eggman in Sonic Adventure 2. Kind of interesting. And then Zuko, like, trying to get approval of his father, but his father's a piece of shit and his sister's a psychopath. It's like, you realize, yeah, fuck these guys. Oh yeah, what makes this even more wild is some of these guys weren't even planning to be all that. Like, deadass Vegeta and Shadow, after the Saiyan Saga and Sonic Adventure 2, were just planning to be killed off permanently. In Vegeta's case, due to Toriyama's editors constantly changing the saga's plots midway, and due to Vegeta's popularity right away, made Vegeta wonderfully transition to a good guy by series end, to the point where he's the second most screen time in Dragon Ball Super easily. Shadow was eventually a one-timer, but Bro became instantly popular. They got his own spin-off and became a mainstay, and became a massive source of marketing in recent times, with basically his own focused movie, and like hijacking the promotion for the new Sonic racing game. Like, Jesus Christ, Shadow, like, whew. And then to the point where, like, when Sasuke and Bakugo, with their respective series, were introduced, they were introduced right from day one. And, like, I will admit, as much as I love this archetype, I mean, I'm making this video right now on them, due to them getting lots of extended focus, it does sometimes cause the side characters to get sidelined, like, especially the case of Naruto. Granted, not always the case, as some still get hefty focus in specific arcs. Oh yes, the crash out moments. I like to call these the moment where the rival realizes he isn't the main character. Like this one nerdcore artist, Conquest Deadass, made a song about these moments in a remastered version that are honestly both bangers. He makes banger music, so subscribe to him. Anyways, here I'm referring to Vegeta. Okay, this one's the Majin Vegeta phase. Like, so iconic. Goku returns for a day, and the moment he realizes how much stronger Goku is, he pretty much sells his soul to the devil, essentially. It demands to fight Goku with a bunch of quotable speeches. What makes it even funnier, Goku was still holding back the entire time. Imagine how... God, that's a... Oh man, that's rough, Vegeta. For Sasuke, it's the water tower. Dare I need to say, more like straight up Luigi Shippuden. And to add another crash out, after he finds out about the Itachi and his true motives and all that, he instantly changes his target. But as we said before, Danzo had it coming. Bakugo, after the licensing exam, let's just say he gets really pissed at Deku finding out how Deku got his core powers. Though I wish they did more with this, like it escalated more. Like, actually, I wish Bakugo actually did become like a villain, like an actual villain for a bit. Ah well. Paul, haven't mentioned him in a hot minute, but his crash out provided a well-deserved beatdown from Brandon. That was so satisfying to watch. And Zuko, we didn't necessarily crash out in the more angry moment. Well, we did later on in that beach episode, but at the end of book 2, he did impulsively, like, betray Katara and Iroh. And soon he does regret we did. But, luckily, all of them do eventually find their way back. Zuko quickly realizes his mistakes, stands up to his dickhead father and what his nation truly does, and joins Team Avatar. Paul gradually mellows out, and Ash finally humbles him at the center of the lake with the Pokemon he abandoned mainly. Bakugo never went bad, though he should have at one point, but he does become more of a team player low-key. Sasuke does eventually get humbled by Naruto and returns to his friend Naruto. And last but certainly not least, Vegeta, knowing he'll go to hell, makes a badass sacrifice against Majin Buu. Sure, it doesn't work, but damn does it hit. As for Shadow, he never really had these, at least not canonically. I guess he does crash out by turning evil in those non-canon endings in Shadow the Hedgehog or straight up eating Eggman, but he does have a change of heart truly at the end of Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Movie 3 by understanding Maria's true wishes. So yeah. These characters, dare I say, are the most relatable. Okay, to an extent, I hope none of you watching this went to the lengths of abusing a Chimchar, or especially murdering a village in Namekians, even though that scene was pretty funny. But I mean, in terms of us as humans being beautifully flawed, like, a lot of these characters grow on us as we get older. Like, they have so many moments where they fuck up, like Vegeta letting himself become perfect and Rifle getting clapped right after, even though, like, his future son, like, kept warning him constantly, and he knows the consequences, but Vegeta had it coming. Sasuke being hate-driven and misguided at points. Bakugo being an actual bully to Deku as a kid. Shadow in Sonic Movie 3 being driven just for revenge. And no matter the canon going against Maria's wishes. Zuko betraying the one guy truly there for him since day one. But I love how they all develop. And I love how sometimes that development requires him to regress a little here and there, like with Majin Vegeta or Zuko in Book 2. Just like a lot of us in real life, sometimes to really ascend further and grow, if we do end up having to regressing a little. And by the end, Zuko got his true honor of seeing the flaws in the nation and finding his real people, his real family. Shadow fights to protect Earth in his own way. Even if the world chooses to be his enemy, he will still fight like he always has. Paul, while still distant, becomes a respectful guy in journeys, helping the guy I used to hate become the champion. And Vegeta, oh my gosh, he gets another epic speech, this time respecting Goku, and becomes a good family man, becoming Goku's real ride or die. Like, dang, do these guys grow. And I love the subtle design changes with Zuko and Vegeta in particular. Like, okay, the subtle symbolism, I will admit Super should have kept that, but I do like the design of Vegeta, Drowsy, like, becoming less armored and, you know what I mean, more earthly. Alright, I will admit there are some examples I could have easily brought up, like Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho, Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh!, or Yuno from Black Clover, and some other Pokemon rivals. I only chose Paul to briefly talk about because Paul's the closest to this. But to be honest, I'm not as familiar with some of these other series, or I haven't touched in a while that I'm going to get some facts horribly wrong, and I was like, this video is pretty long as is, but with that said, thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video, didn't expect to, but hey, I loved making it. Anyways, next video essay is quite a bit different, but relates to more of my IRL friends. With all that said, have a great day, honey bubbas.